are back on the project here, and right now I want to talk about the little sail panels. I know we covered these a while back on Fiero Blue, but I took the ones from Fiero Blue and applied them to Fiero Red, as that's the one that we were working on most at the time, and I want to show you what the end result was there. Now, Fiero Red's not done yet, but you can see the sail panels are on there. They've got their GT emblems with the decals provided by STS Decals, which look fantastic. And we also have our custom taillight bar and plate, just as the customer requested. So we're going to put that to the side, and we're going to talk about prepping the sail panels. Now, considering this is an old kit from the 80s, you can see there's quite a bit of flash around the glass itself. Now all of that has to be cleaned off in order to get this result here. Similar, this one is already done, but you can see how much cleaner the edges are. Now I do that by simply snipping off the excess using my nippers here. Very carefully, just snipping off all of this excess. Let's move this to the side. So we can clean all the edges as much as possible. Got a little nub mark here. And once we have all of the excess plastic removed, and we have our basic shape, now we're just going to use a little bit of sanding, or to me a sanding sponge, and we're going to clean these edges up. Just carefully going over it and making sure that we don't sand too much off, because we don't want to lose our shape. Now when you do this, it's going to require test fitting to the car, just to make sure you don't remove more than you should. So if you're going to build one of these, it's one of the things that you have to look out for. So we're going to continue to do some cleaning up here. And then we're just going to test fit it to the car, make sure that it fits in there properly. Because if it does, it'll stay right in its spot. And this one, it appears, is going to need a little more work. Okay, and now as you can see, we have a proper fit for our quarter glass, which after this will just require paint. Which will be our next step. And our quarter glass is prepped. Next thing we're going to do is start masking it off for paint. Alright guys, now it's time to start with the taillight bar. Now this is going to be a multi-step process, so we're going to walk through each step as far as painting and prepping and getting this thing ready to put on a car. Let's
going to be a lot of colors involved, a lot of layers of paint. So this should be interesting to anybody who's going to build a model like this. Or if you're doing any type of taillight work, I guess. All right, guys, let's get moving with this. Right now, all I'm doing is cleaning up the part, just like we did with the sail panel windows. We're going to remove all the excess plastic flash and nubs on it just to clean it up and get it nice and ready for paint. Okay, now we've got the part all cleaned up. You can see all our edges are smooth, all the flash has been removed, and we have a nice tail light bar just ready to be painted. Let's take a nice close-up look at this. There we go. We can see it nice and clear now. You can see the Pontiac lettering. That's going to be highlighted within a sea of black, and then the colors on each side of the tail light. So let's get started.
Okay, so up to this point, we're up to the applying the colors. We've already done the black, and now we've applied all of the colors to the light. The Fiero has a amber turn signal up on top with the brake and stop lamps on the bottom, a reverse light here, the Pontiac logo on the back, and then the same on the other side. Now, what we did here is after painting all the black, which you saw in a previous part of this video, I've now added Tamiya clear red and clear orange for the amber lights and clear red for the Pontiac logo on the back. As the Pontiac logo on the back of the car lights up, as soon as you turn on the ignition switch, it lights up the Pontiac name in red, and that's what we're trying to simulate here. So now that I have painted the Pontiac lettering in red using the clear red on the back, now we're going to apply a brighter color behind it to see if we can bring that red out a little more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try putting a little bit of flat white behind it. And for that, we're going to be using Tamiya XF2 flat white. And we're going to apply a little bit of flat white to the back of the light fixture itself, of the Pontiac logo itself. And we'll see if that brightens up the red. And here we go. You can see now the Pontiac lettering is a little bit brighter. So that's going to work out nicely when we put it on the car. Let's see if we can give you guys a really good look at this. Let's see if we can sharpen this image up a little bit. There we go. So here we have our Pontiac logo here lit up for all the world to see. Kind of happy with the way that came out. My first time attempting this, so I do think it's going to work out exactly the way I want. Now, the next thing we're going to have to do is now we're going to have to tint the tail lights to a slightly darker tint once the white dries in order to simulate the actual Pontiac lenses, which were tinted from the factory to a darker color. This was back in the 80s when you could do this kind of thing. A manufacturer could, as it wasn't something that was illegal at the time. You can't do that now, or a manufacturer can't do that now. But back then they could, which is why taillights back then look much cooler than they do now. All right, so we're going to keep going. Alright guys, now this is the end result of all the work we've done on the rear tail light bar. After a good polishing of the lenses on the outside, we now have them tinted a smoke color, just like the real car, to darken the lenses just a bit. And we are all done. Those are all the steps needed to make this one taillight bar for the Pontiac Fiero GT. And for the tint, I used Tamiya Smoke, which really does a good job of tinting the lenses darker while not making them too dark. And just apply as much as you want to get the exact shade that you want. Okay, well that's going to be it for this video. We're going to get ready to install these lenses and the quarter windows, and we'll be back in the next episode where I think we'll finally be at the end of the road with this build. All right, guys, I will see you on the next one.